Hello, citizens and postmasters. Well, what a journey it's been here the last 10 days or so. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to those attendees who were at the German workshop. What a wonderful workshop. I felt it was one of my best performances as far as answering questions and the closure, and I was very, very pleased and humbled by how good the different languages and the people in the translations between languages, how they came together. You guys did a great job. You have definitely been studying pretty hard. And the way we were taking control of our nouns and the articles and working through the masculine and feminine issues as a group collectively, I felt was very strong for the workshop. And a lot of people got different perspectives from different languages, and that made the translations a lot smoother in how people could comprehend the quantum grammar. That is something that is definitely missed when I do the workshops in the former United States of America. We don't have that, interaction between different languages because we're mainly just doing the bastardized English there. But when we looked at differences between German, Romanian, Dutch, French, and the different languages that were there, very, very fascinating. Hungarian, very, very interesting to see. I was very pleased at how much study time the Europeans, from my own perspective as someone who was kind of unsure about how the Europeans' comprehension level is of me and the quantum grammar and the quantum postal system and their postmaster skills and their how to do step 7. I was very pleased on the attendees' capacity to have comprehension of what was going on in the quantum systems. And you guys did a really great job. I also really, really liked how we got to hang out together a little bit. Loved walking around the market square and going into the church and looking at the healing centers and the old harmonic systems and all the grounding stations in the churches, and just really looking at the old technologies that they don't have out here anymore. That was really fun. I don't get a chance to do that too often in the States, especially not at the workshops, but it was very more personable. For those of you who were there, who came over from the States, thank you guys for coming over. Definitely a different perspective. Coming to Europe is a different perspective when I look at the culture of people and how they interact with themselves. Totally different scenario than in the former United States. One of the things that I really, really liked is when people go out to eat, they don't put their cell phones on the table. They don't look at their cell phones. They really have really cool conversations with the people around them at their tables. Very vibrant conversations. It's very loud. People talk and they're very animated and they're having a good time when they eat their foods. And, you just don't get that anymore in the United States. People are so worried about, what the government's doing or what they're not doing, or a podcaster's doing this or a podcaster's doing that. Well, I was very pleased that in Europe, you didn't have that happening, and you don't have that happening from what I could tell. Just different vibe. I would say that the European economy, where I went, is Germany and Switzerland, definitely more thriving economies. People were out in the streets. They were interacting with each other, conducting business at a much feverish pace than you see in the States. But as a drawback, I also saw where the Europeans were maybe a little naive, some of the police state that's being set up around them. So that was also something to be a witness of. So that was fun. But the workshop, I felt, for those of you who attended, I felt that was the best I've ever done as far as my presentation. It was smooth. And I owe it all a lot to how you guys interacted with me and your knowledge level. So very pleased with Europe's knowledge levels of quantum grammar. I will definitely come back. Maybe not to Germany. I was thinking, maybe Prague or something, but we'll figure that out at a later date. But it was definitely worth coming. I also was blessed enough to go down to Basel, Switzerland, where I went to the International Bank of Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, dealing with my quantum system, my world-central-banking system, dealing with commodities behind assets, mainly crypto and digital, and some of the things that are being put out there. It was dealt with through what I call it a meniscus-curve on it. I'll just leave it at that. New word for you guys. On chronology tree of where the quantum system has come from, the timelines, the locations, and just giving them a memory reminder. Unfortunately, because I did not set up appointment, I was only able to get things put in a particular way through postage. But definitely went there, definitely could see the vibe of, the control mechanism that they have towards planet Earth and their Babel system. And they're babbling on, as you guys all see. But I felt that the contracts that were put in place there, I didn't really write them till I got to Europe, till I got to Switzerland, because I was mainly focused from leaving the former United States of America and coming to Europe. I was mainly focused on how I was going to interact with the quantum grammar, with the foreign languages. So I put most of my focal point there. But when I got to Basel and got spent a couple of days just getting my contracts dialed in. Of course, another big mailing on that went out, but I couldn't have done it without Laszlo, a period. And I'll just leave it at that. Really appreciate you helping me at the postal system with translations. Yeah, Europe was definitely an eye-opener as far as culture, and an eye-opener about where the people are from a spiritual perspective. A lot of the Europeans that I interacted with, I got it this morning, was fascinating. I got to speak to a well-put-together older woman from Russia, where we had a conversation about, she wanted to talk about Ukraine because she was having concerns about the drone attacks at the airports and some of the things that she lives out while she lives in Russia. But her and I came to a definite concurrence that the Russian people and the former American citizens do not hate each other. In fact, we're very similar in form. We're very similar in concepts. That was really, really cool, is that I got a chance to hear her perspective on the differences between the former United States and Russia. And that was kind of really eye-opening from my perspective, because, these wars in Ukraine, they don't have to continue. They don't have to, continue in a way that they are. The American government should, quite frankly, not fund Ukraine. I mean, think about that, right? If we're not paying for the drones, but we're trying to run off this AI technocracy. All this is going to do, unfortunately, for the soldiers of the American military is it's going to put them out of a job, right? Pretty soon it's going to be pretty much all automated. If Palantir and some of these corporations have their way, there'll be no American soldiers in the battlefield. That will all be AI automated symmetrical warfare platforms. So it's very dangerous. But talking to the Russian businesswoman, she was well put together, really talked about the historical perspective of where she's at. I talked to her a little bit about BRICS. Many of you probably don't know this, but BRICS is 35 to 37% of the world's GDP right now, whereas the G7 countries are only 26 to 27% of the GDP of the world's economy. So the G7, which would be the former United States of America, France, Germany, Italy, the UK, and Canada, they need to come to some cognition that they should take BRICS very seriously, especially in the former United States. They just had their BRICS meeting down in Rio de Janeiro. And guess what country was given access to come? They were not giving voting rights in BRICS, but guess what country went down to the BRICS trade conference down in Rio de Janeiro? Mexico. Well, that's not going to bode well for the barter and exchange between Canada and former United States. So hopefully the American citizens eventually come out of their false narratives. It's really sad to watch these fake podcasters out here, trust the plan, trust the plan, trust the plan, and sideshow you with Epstein. as they put the noose around the American people. Please comprehend that 90% of the American people live off of 1/3 of the GDP of the country, whereas 10% of former American people live off of 2/3 of the GDP of the country. This is a massive wealth transfer, and it's very unequal democracy. So it's very sad to watch when you look at the macroeconomics of what this means for a day-to-day person. I'm like a normal person, I feel, because I value work. The American people, unfortunately, we consume more than we manufacture. And as we consume more than we manufacture, this is a road for disaster, especially when the infrastructure for creating manufacturing plants and building businesses, which is the number one thing you need, is, of course, communication to allow the trades to happen, which there are no trade deals going through right now because no one can communicate. The second thing that one must look at is the capacity for energy to support a manufacturing plant. Did you know that China still manufactures coal refineries all over China, as well as nuclear plants on a day in, day out level? So it's really sad to watch the United States kind of fall behind. They don't want the real technical metals on their nuclear plants and their AI system. They want to create a hardship, to create a scarcity with water, so they don't want the ambient temperature metals, or at least the military-industrial complex doesn't anyway. So that'll be very unfortunate in a few years for the American people. But hopefully the American people and the podcasters come out of their false narrative and they really take a look at the fact that there actually is no president. There has not been a president since 1999. This has just been a fable of storylines to enrich the military-industrial complex, to terraform the world and create false narratives and, really mess the citizens up who went into the military, who get post-traumatic stress syndrome, commit suicide. And the American government lost the war in Vietnam. We lost the war in Iraq. We lost the war in Afghanistan. We will lose the war in Ukraine. And we will lose the war in Iran. So hopefully the American people smarten up. If they take a serious look at the quantum system and the quantum grammar, they should give a guy like me a chance to listen to the will of the people, probably have to hang all the senators, right, because of the traitors' acts of treason they've committed against we the people. And, if the American people were to put me in a position to, and not necessarily I would really want to be that person, but I am that person, so I can't escape my fate, my destiny, but to really pull things back to where we put incentive, not for the manufacturing, but incentive to take the tax reduction. See, people don't have any incentive to work. There's no incentive to work because what? They want to be taxed to death? I came here to Switzerland. I'm in Zurich. And you go down to the banks, have conversations with I don't want to get into the details of everything there, but to realize that when you put your money into Switzerland, they take a 35% holding tax. Well, why would one want to put their money into Switzerland, right? It's really a fascinating presumption that one would want to do that. But with a flat consumption tax that I built in 2001, 2002, to run the government, not off of what the citizens make, let the citizens keep their wealth and don't tax it, but have a 10% flat tax to run the government. And I branched that out through the different branches of government to manage the different departments of the government. But the American people want to listen to their podcasters and their digital soldiers and all their nonsense. It's just like, give me a break. Slow it down, people. Do your due diligence. Come back to the facts. Come back into the truth. And be cognizant that there is no United States government. Be cognizant that there hasn't been a president in the United States since 1999. Maybe the people will wisen up. I don't know. You have all your podcasters out here that spin their narratives and keep us caught up and not taking care of the most important thing. And the most important thing that you can take care of is to love yourself. Love the environment around you, love the people around you, and care for the people around you. Because when you do that on a bubble, day-to-day bubble in, bubble out, of everyone does it for themselves and shares the love for their fellow mankind, there's a bubble effect. And we got to get rid of this fiction. I mean, the world has to smarten up someday. But try not to be sidetracked by all the nonsense, because, unfortunately are decades and decades of bad people that have undermined through blackmail the control of the governments of the world, the people that you see in position to lead, and they've run operations for a long, long time. And so when you think about what we've been fighting as a citizen in the former United States, and a citizen wherever you're at, whether you know it or not, they are trying to live out their biblical fantasies. In their fantasies, they have the make-believe world. In the make-believe world, they act like there's presidents and they put people into position. They seriously act like there's something going on. But to be honest, if you really look at it from yourself and really take a real deep look at what's going on, it is a massive control system that's being yoked upon we the people. I'm seeing the people, I'm manifesting it in my mind and in my heart, that people are going to come together and they're going to learn about the quantum grammar. They're going to learn about how being accountable for their performances changes the conditions of what goes on in contract, in their life, how they interact with other people. This is the foundation of who I am. And I hope it's the foundation of what the postmasters manifest for their lives. But I can't tell people what to do. I don't. Just know that when put into a position to aid the people, I'm a performer. It's not something that I really want to talk about. I would just do it for we the people, because we need a hand up. Now, when you look at the economical foundation of fantasy and factuality, a fantasy would be like a crypto-currency that's backed by nothing. That's a fantasy. A fantasy would be like the Federal Reserve that has no foundation behind it, just printing presses. That's a fantasy. But to actually put the purchasing power back into the hands of the people, to where their currency means something, you would want to put a hard asset behind it. And that's why the quantum system has behind it its gold, its silver, and its platinum. So we have tangible value for tangible value. Now the purchasing power of the dollar, of the currency of the country, can be worth something. But keep in mind, there's more fantasy out here that we have to deal with. The fantasy of the Western medicine, the fantasy of the chemtrails and the nanotech that's going to make our lives better. Let mankind take care of their own health, to make a choice of what they want to do with their health. Not bombard us with plastics, genetically modified foods, engineered water, negative ion air, so that as we consume the nourishment of life, that we have a chance to have the input that comes into us in a positive way, so the output of what we manifest in our day-to-day life is positive for our fellow mankind. So back to the fantasy lands of the fakeness of their health directors and all the nonsense that they say. This is all just tomfoolery. It's the same club. None of the citizens are in it. It's against us. It's the same people, and it's causing us great harm. But never count out a concept whose space has come. And I'm knowing and I'm seeing that the people of the world are wanting to communicate. After talking with that woman in Russia this morning, I know that the Russian people don't hate the American people. We know that we can communicate with each other because we like each other. We're not trying to hurt each other. We have different needs. The needs are like the woman said. She was quite the philosopher. And she wanted to talk about Marcus Aurelius and the stoicism of that in the books that she has read. So we had a great conversation. She was quite surprised that I was stooped and, talked a little bit about stoicism and about how to manage your life and to communicate both non-verbally and verbally. So it was a great metaphors this morning. It was a wonderful conversation. But my time in Europe has come to an end here, and I'll be heading back here in the next couple days. Had a fascinating time at the International Bank of the Settlements. Had a good time at the workshop as far as just really pleased with the Europeans and how much they knew about quantum grammar. And they were very, very happy with the technology that they got from me. It was just very, very much love back and forth. Learned a lot about myself. I'm very good at what I do. I'm really looking forward to sharing concepts when I get back to the former United States. And much love to you guys. I know that there's a lot of data that I don't really say a whole lot about. But I am watching the economic structure of planet Earth, and I have rewrote that in a way that puts the purchasing power back into the people, where there is no taxation on what to give you incentive on working. But we need to come back out of fantasy land, because in order to create manufacturing jobs, you have to have contracts in place. Otherwise, we can't let the consumption be more than what we manufacture. Otherwise, you're going to be a slave. So hopefully people wisen up. Don't worry about any fiction bills that are passed against we the people because of the syntax. It says nothing since 1999. There's nothing in place. And before 1999, all debts were forgiven, which means all contracts prior 1999 are null and void. And anything after 1999 is fictitious grammar with 0 authorizations. So the people of the former United States of America don't have to worry about any of the laws, because we can structurally put that back together in a way that will be balanced for we the people. Blessings on your journeys, Postmasters. I'm going to pass this back to Rachel-Darl-Prince. And I would just say thank you guys so much for all your fortitude, learning about the quantum system, and coming into your own being and controlling your own sovereign world. Blessings, everyone. Blessings.
This is the Postmaster-General, Russell-J. Gould, and now you are with the knowledge.